Yo, what is going on, guys? It is boy Nick here, back in with a brand new video today. Today we're going to be doing a spoiler review for the new MCU Disney Plus series Secret Invasion. So if you guys have been watching my YouTube shorts recently, or if you follow me on TikTok, you guys will know that weekly I've been doing short form content where I've done spoiler-free reviews for every single episode of Secret Invasion as they've come out. And if you guys have been paying attention to those, you guys know that the first 5 episodes I gave really positive reviews to because I really did like the show. But then the last episode was an episode that I did like, but I gave the lowest rating that I've ever given to any of the episodes, because I felt like the ending could have been a lot better. But those are all spoiler-free reviews. We're now going to do a full-on spoiler review for the series of Secret Invasion. If you have any comments that you want to leave down below about the show, you don't have to give a spoiler warning, as this is going to be a spoiler review. So yeah, I have a lot of thoughts about the series of Secret Invasion, so yeah, without further ado, let's talk about this show. So I'm going to start out with a lot of the stuff about the show that I thought was really good. The first thing I want to talk about is the overall great cast, and I got a lot of people to go through, so I'll go through these as quickly as I can, while also giving reasons why I thought the cast was great. Samuel L. Jackson as Nick Fury absolutely carried the show, in my opinion. I mean, even whenever the MCU project isn't even necessarily the best project, Nick Fury always manages to deliver, even if it's like Iron Man 2 or Captain Marvel. You can never go wrong with Nick Fury, as Samuel L. Jackson is just excellent in this role. Also, Kingsley Ben-Adir, in my personal opinion, the best MCU Disney Plus villain in Gravik. His performance, especially in the final episode, fantastic, and these two performances are the best performances in the show by far, and they absolutely carried this show. Nick Fury and Gravik. The the balance of those two, the hero and the villain, excellent. That's one of the things the show did the best. Ben Mendelsohn was also great as Talos. I really thought the scenes with him and Nick Fury were a lot of fun. There was like some funny banter between the two of them, but their friendship I actually thought was really nice. I really bought the friendship between them. I honestly forgot that Talos was actually a Captain Marvel character. He's one of the Skrulls in that one. A lot more memorable and likable in this show, I will say. I thought Ben Mendelsohn was really good as Talos. I really liked him in this role. Emilia Clarke, who had a lot riding on this show, made a really strong debut in the MCU as Gaia. There are some things about the character that I wish would have been ironed out a little bit more, but I thought overall that the performance that Emilia Clarke gave was really good, and I actually really do like what they did with her character, and I can't wait to see what they do with Gaia in the future. Olivia Colman was hilarious and badass as Sonya. Also frightening, too. You don't want to piss off Sonya, but yeah, Olivia Colman. I honestly wish we could have seen more of her, because I thought a lot of the scenes with her were great, especially that scene where she was, like, holding the guy down at gunpoint, like, beating him up and stuff. And when she cut that one of their fingers off in episode 2, it's like, you don't want to mess with her. She's scary, but yeah, that performance, Olivia Colman, great as Sonya. Also, Charlene Woodard, I hope I'm saying her name right, was great as Priscilla Davis, or the Skrull Vara, or as you guys know in the show, Nick Fury's wife. We found out that Nick Fury actually has a wife who's part Skrull, and I kind of wish that they would have gone a little bit more into the relationship, but I thought she did a great job, great chemistry with Nick Fury, and I also really liked the scenes in episode 5 with Gaia and Priscilla, or Vara. I thought that added some risk to it. They actually put some weird like stuff of them being hunted. And yeah, I wish it would have ironed out the story a little bit more, but I actually like the whole idea of Nick Fury secretly having a Skrull wife. I thought that really added something to the show. Don Cheadle was also great as Rhodey. It was great to see him again, although he's not really Rhodey. He was actually just a Skrull. But, you know, Don Cheadle I thought did a great job in the show, and actually because he was a Skrull, because he wasn't really Rhodey, it gave Don Cheadle a change of pace for the performance of the character. You know, because it's not really that character. And so, like, he was acting... It was weird to see Rhodey act weird, but Don Cheadle did a good job of playing that weirdness to him, so it actually gave him, like, more, like, things to venture into as an actor, which I thought was really cool. Also, Dermot Mulroney was pretty good as the president. He did piss me off a little bit, but I actually thought the performance itself was really good, and that thing that he does in the final episode... Holy crap. We're going to talk about it in a second, but that thing he does in the final episode, I'm excited to see where that's going to go. I hope they don't mess that up. The production value was a lot higher in the show than some of the other shows that they've done. It almost felt like it was produced for HBO in a way. There's just some really great camera work. There wasn't a whole lot of action, aside from some stuff I'll talk about in a second, but the action when it was there felt very, like, high-level stuff. Like, the production value almost felt like it was done for HBO, but it also reminds me a lot of what the Russos did for Captain America the Winter Soldier, which is one of my favorite MCU movies. And so I thought that the production value overall in this one was really good. I wish they would have done more with the action. I thought that the action was kind of flat in some areas, aside from some stuff I'll talk about in a minute. But the actual like camera work and locations and stuff, I thought was really cool. I thought the action was kind of flat in some things, but they did take some risks with the action, which I do want to talk about real quick. Episode 2, where we see Gravik's hand get like cut down the thing, and we see the blood come out, and then it comes and it like heals like that. Like, that was really cool. They actually took risks. There was actually more blood in the show than I was expecting. I saw Skrulls getting shot in the head, and I saw Skrulls lose blood. Stuff I wasn't expecting to see, but, you know, they actually took risks with the action. I'm all for that. That's what I really liked about Multiverse of Madness. They actually took some risks with the action. There was some more blood in there. There wasn't an overabundance of carnage in this show, but you know what? They took some risks with the action, and I'm all for that. I thought that was really awesome what they did with that. They also did some really interesting stuff with the superpowers. I really liked the stuff that Gravik did with like the Groot abilities. We learned in the show that Gravik actually has the abilities of multiple people. The stuff he does with the Groot arms, where he like holds them, all that stuff, that was really cool. We actually saw like the extent of Gravik's abilities now that he's like robbing people of their power. Not robbing people of their powers, but now that he's attaining these powers via this weird stuff he's doing. And I thought that actually like added something to the character. It's like Gravik is not just an insane Skrull leader. He's like a full-on force to be reckoned with. And the performance and the writing for the character and the overall just like stuff they pulled off with him, really cool. I also really enjoyed the paranoia thriller aspect of the show with the whole thing of like Skrulls impersonating people, especially with the first few episodes. It was really fun. It offered like a new sense of risk to the show, offered some new concepts to the MCU, and I thought that they took some good risks with the show, especially with this whole idea of like Skrulls invading the Earth. They said that there's over 1 million Skrulls impersonating people, which I thought was a really cool idea for the show. And yeah, I really like that whole aspect of the show. And here's the thing I want to talk about with the president. The president at the last episode of the show declared total danger, like total war, whatever the hell it was, against any off-Earth person on Earth. So we now legit have war against Skrulls, and that's 1 million Skrulls are going to deal with, so we'll see where that goes. I'm hoping that they don't screw that up in whatever project they're going for earlier, but man, I think that could actually add some... Like, it adds some risk, but also, like, adds that, like, Captain America Civil War level of risk. Because, you know, in Civil War, we see the superheroes break up. In this one, we're actually seeing U.S. government and United Nations going against 1 million impersonators impersonating real people. And we even saw that there's people who are now just getting murdered because they might be being impersonated. And we see in the process that not only, like, were some of them being impersonated, but some of them were actually the real person. So we're going to see some problems arise out of this, and we're going to see some weird stuff. I'm hoping they can actually pull off some really great story with this new concept. Also, the one thing I want to point out with that, are the Asgardians at risk? Because it wasn't just that they declared the Skrulls a danger, they claimed off-world people danger. And the Asgardians are off-world people. They're from Asgard and they're on Earth. So the people who are at New Asgard, so like Sif and Valkyrie, like, are they at risk now? Like, are they at risk of getting arrested or something? Or are they going to have to find another planet to live on now that any off-world beings who now live in the MCU Earth are like... You see what I'm saying? It's like, what are we doing with that? It's like, are we putting like species who have nothing to do with the secret invasion at risk? And if we are, I feel like you get some really good story out of that. We also, and here's the two big ones I know people are talking about. We took huge risks with character deaths of Kobe Smulders as Maria Hill and with Talos. So with Talos, I actually was sad to see him get killed off. Nick Fury could not catch a break in episode 4. You know, I was really liking the relationship between the two of them, although he wasn't like the most memorable character within the grand scheme of the MCU. But I still was sad to see him get killed off because I really liked what they were doing with Talos, so rest in peace. And then seeing Maria Hill get killed off all the way back in episode 1. That was that huge risk that I was not expecting them to take. It ended in a way I was like, they're actually killing off an OG MCU character in the show. Now, for those of you who don't know, Maria Hill was first introduced in the Avengers, and I believe she was in the Winter Soldier, possibly Civil War as well, I can't remember exactly, and she was also in Far From Home, and I think in Captain Marvel, but she's most well known for being in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which I have not seen aside from Season 1. I have seen Season 1 of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I haven't watched the rest of it. I do want to watch the rest of it, though, as I do like the characters in Season 1, and I do like some of the characters in that show that have been in the movies, such as Kobe Smulders as Maria Hill. And so I wasn't, like, in tears when she died, but I was shocked and I was sad, so rest in peace to Maria Hill, OG MCU character. Huge risk they took, though. Like, I did not expect them to take that, and it kind of like let you know that this was not going to be your generic MCU show, although it did kind of meander a little bit near the end. So, with all the good stuff out the way, let's talk about the stuff that I didn't like. Actually, before I go on to that, I forgot to mention, the music in the show, really good. I really liked the music in the show. Now let's move on to the flaws of this show. So, the main flaw I have with this show is I found the finale underwhelming. I didn't hate the finale. If you guys saw my review for it, I gave it a 7.5 out of 10. Which is like the lowest I gave to any of the episodes. That's still pretty good, but the reason I gave it a 7.5 out of 10 was because it was entertaining, and we did see some endings to arcs that I found satisfying for the most part, and we introduced some new arcs, but it was too short, which is the first thing I've written down for the underwhelming finale, and there was so much potential with the final battle, and they did nothing with it. We saw that Gravik became like the ultimate Skrull who could embrace any powers, and then we saw that Gaia is now a human who can do the crazy like shape-shifting stuff, but can now do those powers too. And it was weird because I liked that idea, but I felt like Gaia just needed a little bit more. Her character needed to progress more to get to this point, in my opinion. But I actually thought the idea of it was pretty cool. When I say it didn't live up to the potential, I want you to think about this for a second. They took the best villain that any of the Disney Plus shows have had, and a pretty good character who needed a little bit more development, but a pretty good character, and they gave them the two powers to have the powers of anybody. I want you to think about the actual spectacle of an action scene you could have with that for a minute. Two people who could shapeshift any powers. You could pull off so many cool things with that, and they did virtually nothing with it. I saw people on Twitter compare it to Free Guy, and yeah, it did kind of look like some of those scenes in Free Guy, if you guys have seen that movie. I actually recommend checking that out. That was a fun movie. But it also kind of felt like a scene out of Dragon Ball. Like, we saw Gaia just totally just body Gravik in the end. We saw, like, Gravik looks like Piccolo, which is, like, not, like, a joke or anything, but he did, and they had, like, the weird stuff with the arms. They were doing all the weird, like, Captain Marvel stuff that it felt like a live-action Dragon Ball Z fight. And mind you, like, I have nothing against Dragon Ball Z. Dragon Ball Z has cool fights, but for the MCU, especially for a show this serious, it felt very silly and felt very, like, you know, you could it was this whole thing of, like, you almost had something really great with the potential for this final battle. Like, you could have really pulled off some really sick, badass stuff with excellent choreography, and, like, you could have had them, like, doing all this weird stuff to defend each other, or to defend themselves from each other, and then you could have had, like, one huge shebang. But instead, it was a really weird, like, haphazardly slapped together final battle with just, like, they handled it in the most generic way possible when the show was known for taking risks. And that was, like, the huge issue I had with the finale. The finale was just a basic cookie-cutter, I don't even want to say formulaic, because I felt like it even, like, fell below the formula for MCU. But it was just, like, they handled it in the most generic way possible. It almost felt like, I said Dragon Ball Z, it almost felt like the ending to, like, one of the more throwaway DC movies in a way. Like, it was the thing where it's like, you had so much potential, and you could have had something really great, and you could have had this big spectacle fight with all these interesting choreographic superpower things. Like, you hear me say all these things, it's like, yeah, there's so much potential, and they did nothing with it. And that's so, and that frustrates me, because the first 5 episodes were known for taking risks. They killed off characters we didn't expect to get killed off. We introduced things about war. We see the super paranoid stuff with the Skrulls. And I know some people weren't as big into it as I was, just fine. And there were some moments in the first 5 episodes where I was like, okay, I may not love everything about these episodes, but you know what? I'm okay with it, because the stuff I like, I really do like. And it's all going to be okay, because as long as the finale's great, it'll all be worth it. And then the finale wasn't great. So I'm in this whole like state of mind where I liked the show. I really did like the show, but I'm frustrated because the finale was underwhelming. It's one of those things where it's like, the first 5 episodes I thought were really good, and episode 6 I thought was just kind of good. Some stuff in it that was really good. Like, I thought that the introduction to that plot I talked about earlier with, like, war against the Skrulls opens up some interesting stuff that I'm excited to see. And I thought that, you know, the idea of what they had going on was satisfying, but they just didn't execute it well enough. And the whole stuff with Nick Fury and his wife, I'm gonna be honest, it is weird that Nick Fury is going back up into space when they've now declared war on the Skrulls. However, I know that for the Marvels, they're doing that, so maybe he'll come back after that. I don't know. But it's like, we're seeing stuff go places, and, like, I'm interested to see where they're gonna go with it. I think they got some interesting potential with the way the show ended with the new arcs they got going on, but I felt like some of the arcs were underdeveloped. I felt like Gaia needed more development for her character, and I felt like I really liked the stuff with Nick Fury and his wife. I wish that we would have got to see a little bit more of them. And overall, just, like, it felt like we took so many risks just for them to have a very cookie-cutter finale, so, you know, it's the thing where it's like, I felt like things were not as developed as they could have been. I felt like they could have done more, and I really felt like they could have just gone bigger with the spectacle. And something that, like, people are talking about is the fact that they had a huge budget for this show, and, like, the first few episodes, you can really see with that budget, with, like, how nice the camera work is and all that. And then the final episode, it's like, where did this budget go? Were they just giving a ridiculous amount of money to these actors? Really weird. I will say though, I don't hate the show. I actually do like it, like I said, but I understand why there's people who are calling this like their least favorite Disney Plus show. I understand why there's people who just flat out don't like it. I'm not one of those people, but I am in this frustrated kind of spot because episode 1 I gave an 8 out of 10 to when I first saw it. Yeah, and I stand by that. Really liked it. Episode 2 I give an 8.5 to. Really liked it. 3 and 4 were my favorite episodes because 3 we actually got to see. We got to see the plot like progress a little bit more. We got to see this whole thing about like potential war with Skrulls, so that was really cool. That one was my favorite, and episode 4 was like my tied favorite because we actually got to see more action. That's the other thing I was talking about. I talked about the action was kind of flat. Episode 4, best episode action-wise. I loved that we got to actually see, like, they almost killed the president. We got to see Gravik kill Talos, and then we saw some weird stuff. Best episode action-wise, episode 4. So 3 and 4 are my favorites. And episode 5, I didn't love that one as much as 3 and 4. I did like it more than episode 1, I will say that. However, it seemed like we were going in a way that I was like, okay, like, we're setting up toward the finale. As long as the finale is excellent, I'm okay with the fact that episode 5 was good. I give that one an 8.5 out of 10, so clearly I liked it. I liked the fact that we got to see Nick Fury get his eye patch back. We saw he was going to give, like, that Captain Marvel thing to Gravik. Like, we saw some cool stuff in that episode, you know, but it just wasn't as fun as the previous two. But I was like, okay, like, they're setting up towards the finale. We seem to be going somewhere. And the finale, too short, underwhelming, underdeveloped. Yeah, I feel like the finale would have really benefited from being like an hour or even possibly an hour and a half. Had they really like almost done like the Stranger Things thing and made the final episode longer, you could have really had something, you know. And so I don't mean to go on a tangent about the finale, but you know, it's the thing where it's like I like the show. Finale could have been better. If we're talking about like the MCU finales, this is not my least favorite MCU finale. I like this one more than the She-Hulk finale, but sadly it doesn't rank very high among them either. Like, I thought WandaVision was a good show from front to back. I thought the finale didn't take as many risks as maybe they could have. Like, I thought there wasn't many consequences, but I thought overall, good show. Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I thought had a really good finale, although the way in which we got there wasn't my favorite, and I thought it was weird how like that show felt like a movie split up into episodes, but you know, I thought it was a good one. Loki had a good finale, but the thing is though, is that it's a cliffhanger and we're still waiting for season 2, which I can't wait for that to come out. What If had a good finale, but the only thing I didn't love about What If was the fact that it was like we saw like all these different worlds come together for this finale, and it was a great build up, but it's also a thing where it's like some episodes are better than others. Hawkeye, in my opinion, the best finale of any of the Disney Plus shows. It's also my favorite Disney Plus Marvel show that we've had because I felt like Hawkeye knew its premise and executed it nearly to perfection. That was one that I felt barely had a misstep. Moon Knight had a good finale, but similar to Loki, it's like I feel like we still got some stuff that we could cover, and we don't even know if we're getting a season 2 yet. I hope we get a season 2. And also the way in which you got there wasn't my favorite either. But you know, good show, but like I feel like we need a season 2 because some things still seem a little bit unresolved or unsure of. And I liked the finale for Miss Marvel, but we kind of went in like a detour on the way to get there. So again, it's like I liked the finale for Miss Marvel, but we just had a weird way to get there. And then She-Hulk is like my least favorite finale because that was a show that the first number of episodes I really liked, and then they kind of just progressively got less interesting as it went on. And then when the finale came out, I didn't hate it, but it just became really clear that they didn't know what they wanted to do with this show. And so with Secret Invasion, even though the finale was underwhelming to me, I can give it credit in the fact that like they knew where they wanted to go. It's just the execution was not the best. So that's like my feelings on that. So overall, Secret Invasion was not as good as I hoped it would have been. I felt like had the finale been better, it would have been one of the better MCU shows. Every MCU show up to this point, from WandaVision up to Miss Marvel, I gave all those shows either an A- or higher. I gave all those shows A- except for WandaVision, which I gave an A, and Hawkeye, which I gave an A+. I gave She-Hulk a B, because it was fun, but it really lost itself near the end. And Secret Invasion is a weird one because, again, it's like the first 5 episodes, really liked. I feel like at that point we were like a B+ or an A-, and had the finale been really great, we could have been an A or an A+, but unfortunately we didn't get that, so... You know, this is a show that, like, overwhelmingly I do like. I've actually seen this show twice now. I watched the episodes as they came out, and I rewatched the whole show today in preparation for this review. And, you know, I enjoy most of the show, but I just wish the finale would have been better. With that being said, I did enjoy most of the show, so I'm going to give it an overall rating of an 8 out of 10 because despite the fact that the finale was underwhelming, everything leading up to it I thought was mostly really well done. And I'm going to give it a grade of a B. I think this is better than She-Hulk. It's actually the same grade and rating I gave to She-Hulk, but I think it's better than She-Hulk, so I can give it that. But sadly, it's not one of the better MCU shows like I hoped it would be. So that was my review for Secret Invasion. I hope that you guys enjoyed the review. I'm sorry if it sounded a little bit more negative than it meant to. And I hope this review didn't get too long. We'll see. I probably went on a tangent more than I meant to. But yeah, I did like the show. I just wish it was a little bit underwhelming. Let me know what you guys thought about Secret Invasion. I would love to hear your thoughts, whether they're negative neutral or positive. I mean, I'm up for all sides. I am also doing a updated tier list video in a few days where I'm going to rank every MCU Disney Plus show that I've covered so far among the movies that I've also ranked so far. So I'll be on the lookout for that when it comes out. And if you guys have not followed me on TikTok, Twitch, and Instagram, go follow me on that. The link will be in the description for that, as I do post a lot of content over there, especially with my Secret Invasion stuff. Yeah, thank you guys so much always for watching. I really appreciate the support. If you guys want to support the channel, feel free to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you get notified when I post videos. And make sure that you hit the like button. It really helps the channel out. And yeah, it's been it. Peace.